Hi, and welcome to another episode of Do You Remembaer? It's an ongoing video series where I take a look at something on the internet, or most often a Wikipedia article. Let's be real, and then I do my best to remember everything I read, and hopefully entertain and maybe educate you about the thing. And for this particular video, I'm talking about OpenOffice.org, the open source alternative to Microsoft Office. Now, I'm going to be referring to this to a lot as OpenOffice. Now, technically, they are openoffice.org, website for that, but also legally they're openoffice.org. They have to be openoffice.org because there was a company that owned the international trademark to OpenOffice. So they couldn't be openoffice.org, so they had to be openoffice.org. They couldn't be OpenOffice. But we know it is OpenOffice. You forgot about it, probably, because you don't own a license to any of the Microsoft suite unless you had a job that wanted to use that stuff. You use Google. You use Google Slides, and instead of PowerPoint, and you use Sheets instead of Excel, and you use Google Docs instead of your writer. But you could have been using one of these wonderful things, and I'm going to actually make this bigger here so we can look at the suite here. There we go. Your text document, your spreadsheet, your presentation, that's your PowerPoint alternative, drawing, database, formula, because you could do like math equations. You see the Oracle name there? That was not the original. A company in Germany whose name I can't remember created the Open Office originally, and it was purchased by Sun Microsystems. Sun made the decision to purchase the small company working on this software instead of buying Microsoft Office licenses for 42,000 employees. They thought it would be cheaper to just buy a company that made it. And so that's what they did. And then they were like, also, we think this should be open source. And it will distribute it free so that people will use that instead of Microsoft Office, which is great. I have been hearing a lot about open source stuff on some podcasts. So that it was in my head that I kind of wanted to talk about this because I was like, hey, how come nobody ever talks about Open Office? What the fuck happened to Open Office? Well, eventually, Oracle bought Sun, and they kept the team that was working on it, but they didn't really do much with it. Now, because it was open source, there were people outside of it. There was a community involved in working on it, and there was a council that made recommendations and worked on some stuff, and eventually they got sick of dealing with Sun and then particularly Oracle because they were like, we don't think you're actually doing anything with this. So they all left to go make LibreOffice, or LibreOffice, sorry, LibreOffice, which was an offshoot of that, and eventually it's just like 2011 or so, it just kind of fizzled out, and they Oracle got rid of the Sun employees that had been kept on the project, and then that was it. That was the end of our business with Open Office. Open Office just kind of became whatever. And there were a number of reasons for that. One is market share. It's kind of tough to keep an eye on market share with this particular product due to the fact that it was free, but there was a percentage of users who were using it. But the real thing is, and let's be honest, I mentioned it earlier, is Google. Google just made a thing that you could just use as an alternative. Now, you could easily save an Open Office in their file formats, or you could save as you could make something in their presentation in there and save it as a PowerPoint. You could save Google Docs as a doc or a docx. Not Google, sorry, Open Office documents. You could save that. Same thing with their Excel knockoff. So that was convenient if you at home didn't have a license for Office, but at work you did, and you need to move documents back and forth. That was pretty helpful. But really, as I said, it was just Google made a thing that you can do on any computer that's on the internet, and it's just cloud synced and have it on your phone, and it's not a big deal, and it's free. And, you know, like, I think honestly, you know, this is a sidebar. Keynote is still the best of all of the presentation software, in my opinion. Keynote's got its own issues because it's a Apple product, an Apple only product, really. So you got to do a lot of conversions. It's not really that fair. But Google Slides honestly just works. All of those services just work. And, you know, OpenOffice, at a certain point, it didn't make sense for Oracle to care about OpenOffice. Let's be real. So it kind of just went away. There's some other stuff in there, you know, technical aspects we can look into. Go in the show description below. You can find the link to the Wikipedia article and take a look at that. The things to me, as I said, that were most interesting to me. Also, they're in Brazil. They couldn't even be called OpenOffice.org. They had to be like another name. But the thing that was interesting to me was that it technically is OpenOffice.org is the name of the software and the product, not OpenOffice, which is just funny to me. That because of one company in one country, they just had to go with a different name. I don't remember who recommended OpenOffice to me, but somebody did in my life. I think that's how I get all of my, you know, freeware programs, open source stuff, is just somebody being like, oh, you can use this, you know. I mean, maybe it was a company I worked for, wasn't going to get the Microsoft suite, and so we did that. I don't know. Eventually, I ended up working at a company that did all that because they wanted to use OneDrive, and they went in on it. And I was like, sure, give me a license to Microsoft Office. Okay, I use PowerPoint a lot. Fine. I still use PowerPoint quite a bit, honestly. I pay a couple dollars a month to have it, and there are a couple people who also use that because I have shared my login for that because it's just for PowerPoint. If you really need PowerPoint and we're cool with each other, let me know. Just use Google Slides. Who cares? Anyway, I hope this was informative. I don't know. It's kind of interesting to me. It's kind of fun to look at one of these, like, what was at one time a pretty big open source project that isn't in the conversation. Thanks so much for watching this video. Check out the playlist for other ones that talk about animals and people and places and all kinds of things that I'm just interested in and trying my best to remember. What did I get wrong? Let me know in the comments below, or if you have a suggestion of something you'd like to see me do, a Do You Remember about, put that in there as well. Thanks so much for watching, and I'm going to stop recording now. Goodbye.